All right, welcome everyone. We're so excited for you to join us. This is our first ever workshop that we are planning to facilitate. We've got a lot of plans for the summer, but this is our first one. So we're excited to have you join us and have a Friday night together talking about dyslexia intervention. So I'm going to get started by introducing our resident expert, Sandra Dallon. She and I happen to be the co-founders of Apricot Tree Academy. And Sandra's background is in elementary education. And then she earned her bachelor's degree in elementary education. She taught for 6 years. While she was teaching, she also earned her master's degree in education and then went on to get a certificate from the Dyslexia Training Institute. So she has had experience tutoring kids with dyslexia and also happens to be a mom of children with dyslexia. We both have a lot of passion in supporting our children who are neurodivergent in their needs. And so we're excited to share some things with you today. And I'm going to turn it over to Sandra so she can get started and go through some things for you to know.
All right, thanks, Cindy. Hi, everyone. I'm glad you could be here with us today. I am excited. I'm actually very passionate about dyslexia, having children of my own who struggle with dyslexia. So I might talk about them a little bit, so be prepared. But as a parent of a dyslexic child, I struggle to figure out how to help them. And so I've done a lot of learning around it, been tutoring kids for 10 years, and I want to be able to share that with as many parents as I can because I know the struggles. And so we're going to go ahead and start with this how to select a dyslexia intervention program. So let's start with some facts. 1 in 5 or 20% of the population actually has dyslexia. Now, that's a really large number of our population. And like it says there, they labor to learn to read without the proper instruction, and those labors can be very disheartening and unprofitable. I know if you're a parent of a dyslexic child, you've seen that struggle and you understand how daunting that can be for our children when they feel like they're not progressing like their peers. So so we're going to go over a few things today. We're going to start with an overview of dyslexia. We'll talk about how dyslexia affects reading, and then we'll go into what kinds of interventions actually help dyslexic readers, specifically looking at the components of an Orton-Gillingham method or approach, which we'll talk about is one of the gold standards for dyslexia intervention. And then we're going to take a sneak peek look at our curriculum that we have developed around dyslexia that aligns with those principles. At the end, we'll show you how to get our free ebook to help your child with dyslexia. So that's our plan for this meeting. Hopefully this is what you're hoping to get out of it. So we're going to start with what is dyslexia. This is actually comes from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke. So dyslexia is a brain-based type learning disability. It specifically impairs a person's ability to read. These individuals read at levels significantly lower than expected, despite having normal intelligence or sometimes exceptional intelligence. Although the disorder varies from person to person, common characteristics among people with dyslexia are difficulty with phonological processing, that's the manipulation of sounds, spelling, and or rapid visual verbal responding. Okay, so what causes dyslexia? Well, if you don't know, there is no known cause, but it has shown dyslexia can run in families. It's actually believed that over 50% of dyslexics may have inherited that genetic pattern from one or both of their parents. That means that those who have dyslexia often have close members of their family who have experienced the difficulty learning to read as well. I know this one personally, as I have dyslexia on my side of the family, and my children's father has dyslexia on his side of the family. So we were blessed with 2 dyslexic children out of our 4, which has been wonderful. And we'll talk about strengths a little bit later, but let's talk a little bit more about what happens for our dyslexic readers. So Many dyslexic students are not getting the help they need. So here's the fact. There's 4% of the population that is actually identified by schools as having dyslexia or reading difficulties, and that are being helped through special education processes. That's 4%. Now we know from our previous statistic, 1 in 5, 20% of our population actually has dyslexia. So our schools are not helping an estimated about 16% of those dyslexic students. Okay, here's the other thing that's troubling. Our dyslexic students are often labeled as lazy. They're not, or stupid, and they're not. Dyslexic is not a student being lazy. It's actually a result, and it's not a result of upbringing or prior learning, and it's not a lack of intelligence. One reason dyslexia may go unnoticed is that children with dyslexia are often particularly intelligent. They may appear to be reading books, but simply have memorized the words. And I don't know if any of you have seen this in your own children, where they'll come home, I can read this book, you know, and it's because they've memorized all the words. It's the one they've been reading at school for several weeks. And they become very good at those types of things. What can we do? Well, as teachers and parents, we actually have to take a closer look at our students' decoding and spelling skills to see if they are actually reading the book. So they can be very tricky and hard to identify. And that's probably one of the reasons why schools haven't identified all of them yet. But as parents, we realize when our kids are feeling this way. So here are a couple of effects of dyslexia, and I'm going to go through these quickly because we have limited time and I really want to get to the meat of how to choose an intervention program. But here are some of the main ones. There's a weakness in phonemic awareness, being able to understand letter sound or the sounds in a word. There's difficulty learning to read, write, and spell. That's one that most people identify as dyslexia. They also may have a poor verbal short-term memory. So you'll see people talk, dyslexic students talking around a word because they can't retrieve a specific word. They know they know the word, but it doesn't come quickly for them. So that's pretty an interesting thing. Difficulty catching up to peers' reading skills. They'll have difficulty with procedural learning, and they have low self-esteem and reading and writing avoidance. And I think that's one of the sad ones for our students, because they you'll see them avoid wanting to read in the class by going to the bathroom, or wanting to go to the nurse. As a classroom teacher, I noticed some of those things, and sometimes those kids can be disruptive in the classroom, not because they're a disruptive student or trying to be a disruptive student. They're just trying to avoid the reading and writing activities. So how could now I feel like we're talking about all the bad, but there's more. To make matters worse, the schools, the way that they teach reading, schools are often teaching using what's called a whole language or a global approach. And you may have seen this with your kids. They're memorizing lists of sight words in the hopes that the student will discover the phonemic awarenesses or the phonemic elements of reading. But since children with dyslexia have trouble with phonological processing, these elements do not come naturally, and they won't learn to decode the unfamiliar words. So the whole language approach does not effectively teach dyslexic children to read. And research suggests it is actually ineffective for most all children who learn to read. So back to this thing. Schools are only identifying 4% of the population as dyslexic, while an estimated up to 20% of the population is actually dyslexic. Now, again, because of that, what do we do for the 16%? Here is what these children need. Dyslexic children need an explicit, systematic phonics instruction, okay? All the research shows that this is what teaches all children, actually all children, to learn to read. So let's break that apart. The first part is phonics. There needs to be phonics in that instruction. And I know that used to be a bad word among teachers. Oh, we're teaching phonics, because it was done in a boring way. And so teachers steered way far away from it, but these students, they need this. They need the phonics. They also need explicit instruction. That means the part that the reading is broken down into small parts that make sense and taught explicitly, okay? The third thing they need is the systematic instruction. So we're going to teach it in an order that makes sense and that follows patterns. We're not going to just throw them in the deep end. We don't do that with most learning skills, but we went that way with reading for a long time. So we need to teach them in a systematic way, okay? And then the last thing is repeated instruction. A fact I read the other day was that dyslexic students need about 240 exposures to a new concept before they can master it. So that is a lot of exposures. That's a lot. So the repeated instruction part is very important, but can be boring if we're doing the same thing over and over again with our kiddos. So we're going to talk about the Orton-Gillingham approach, which kind of addresses the repeated instruction in a more interesting way for our students, okay? So the Orton-Gillingham approach was actually developed in the 1930s and 1940s. And is still considered the gold standard for teaching children with dyslexia to read, okay? It is based and supported with research, and because it shows that the explicit approach to teaching this literacy is the most effective technique to use with struggling readers. The Orton-Gillingham method combines that approach along with a multi-sensory model, that's where we get our repetition, to teach and reinforce literacy skills. Okay, let's break it down again, and you'll see that Orton-Gillingham approach is phonics based. It correlates those sounds with the letters or groups of letters. It is explicit and breaks down those rules and procedures into small steps and pieces for our students, kind of like building blocks, okay? The systematic approach also, it's taught in a specific order, building upon prior lessons. And then there's the repetition. Several activities and senses are used to review learning and build stronger neural pathways in the brain. I put the and in there because Orton-Gillingham goes one step further. It combines the multisensory approach. So if you look at multisensory allows for repetition of learning using several senses. So some of the activities in an Orton-Gillingham curriculum will include utilizing print for a visual learning, hearing the words, auditory, and tapping or tracing, which is kinesthetic and tactile. This repetition facilitates the building of stronger neural pathways in the brain. Just like any skill worth learning, repeated practice of phonics improves the reading. So this approach to learning to read is so effective, it can be used with all beginning readers. So here is this trick with finding an Orton-Gillingham curriculum. The Orton-Gillingham curriculums that are out in the market today are designed to be taught by a trained tutor, usually for that specific program. So you will find that you have to find a trained tutor, and they're going to cost about $50 to $100 an hour for your child. After that, to add on to that, they need to meet, or suggested to meet, usually 2 to 3 times a week for tutoring sessions. So when you add that all up, it's about $400 to $1,200 a month just to have a tutor come into your home to help your child with reading intervention. That doesn't include the materials. A lot of tutors will add on the price of the student workbook or some of the materials for your child to use while they are in the tutoring sessions. So I don't know about you, but that's a lot, and I'm on a budget. So as a parent, I wanted to share what I know with other parents, because I don't know how many times I've had parents come to me, I can't afford, what do I do? How do I do this? And there was nothing that I could say, hey, go look at this curriculum. You can do this at home with your child. So I've worked with Cindy, who is a curriculum designer. She is amazing, and she has helped with all the graphics. That's why it's beautiful, okay? So I get the content, she gets the beautiful graphics of it. But we have created a curriculum for you to take as a parent to help your child at home. Now, here's what's included right now with our special bundle that we have going on. We have a student book, and I'll kind of show it at the end a little bit. Can I show it, Cindy? There's a student book. Actually, it's on there somewhere. There's a student book that comes with it. It's a hard copy. And then you get the digital guides and digital access to all the those other materials digitally. There are flashcards for sounds and other hands-on activities like our games. There's a game included with each week. We have tutorials, videos of how to do the activities so that you're not surprised at how they run. We have learning songs for all of the syllable types that are fun and that we have had a professional musician record for us. And we have access to our online community and special events. So the tutoring sessions that, or the training sessions that Cindy was talking about this summer, those will be for those with the special events access. So I know you're probably wondering, oh, how much does this cost? We actually have this bundle is a special offer right now. For a limited time until the end of March, we're actually offering the workbook at a special price of $199. And then as you purchase that, you get a special code to get all of the rest of the bundle off of our website for free, okay, which is normally $99. And so all of this is right now $199. It's normally $349. It's on sale right now, but we want to share it with as many people as we can. So that is our deal going on. Now, Cindy's going to show you how, when you purchase this, how to move forward to get your bundle.
Yeah, so I might at the end we'll go off sharing our screen and I can show you where in the workbook to find it. But if you go to Amazon and you search for Apricot Tree Academy, you'll see the level 1 workbook. And it's $4 off right now. And you could get it for $199. And then inside the workbook, there is a course code. So you go to our website, you add the digital course to your cart, which is at apricottreeacademy.com. And that's where all of the activities are in addition to the workbook. The reason you need the workbook is because it's an important part of that tactile process that Sandra was talking about. I actually asked her many, many times if we could just offer all of this digitally, it would be a little bit easier. But the truth is it wouldn't serve these kiddos well. And so we have this physical copy of the workbook so that they can do the writing and reading and activities inside the workbook. And then the digital elements do support their learning and also support the parents in how this needs to be facilitated with their children. So once you get to our website, you add the course, there's a free code in the workbook and you just enter that code and it will give you access to our digital course for free. All right. So one other thing we want to share with this, with all of you is this free ebook. If you are here because you heard about this, which is maybe true, you probably already have a copy of this, but if you don't, if you're new here, we do offer a free ebook. It's called My Child Has Dyslexia, Now What? It's like 23 pages full of information about, actually, I've got it pulled up right now. It's got information about dyslexia. You can learn about how to talk to your child about dyslexia, how to be supportive at home and cultivate positivity. Some really good information here about how to advocate for your child at the school. What things are they legally required to offer for your child, and how to partner with teachers and schools to make sure that they're getting the support they need in the school. There's also some information about how to make accommodations for your child and to supplement at home so that they can get to reading and more confidence. So anyway, go to apricottree.com. You'll see a pop-up and all you have to do is subscribe to our email and we'll send this to you right away. And you can get access to that free ebook. Did you want to talk about this, Sandra?
Oh, these are just some websites for parents. So first of all, follow us on Facebook, definitely. Join our Facebook support group. We actually have a dyslexia moms support group. And right now we don't have, we have just a few members, but we're growing every day. It's amazing. So these are websites that have information. There's the International Dyslexia Association, Decoding Dyslexia, Understood, and Learning Ally Parent Chat. These are just some websites that can give you more information. Our information, though, if you go to apricottreeacademy.com, has a ton of information already. We've been bunch of articles on diverse learners and all kinds of things. So check that out. If you are looking for a Facebook support groups, there's a few listed down there as well. But come to our Apricot Tree Academy. Under there, it's a Dyslexia Moms Facebook group. We've got some good information there as well.
And Sandra's available to answer questions. Whatever comes up there, that's what it's meant for, is to be a support group. So also all of the links to these resources are in our free e-guide as well. So if you just want to get a direct link, that you can find it there. All right, so we're gonna just jump into a couple of questions. We're kind of short on time, but I think we could probably get through 5 or 6 questions. So I'm gonna start. Okay, let's see. Okay, so first question, what are some alternative tools that can help your child be successful with reading?
Alternative tools.
So like learning tools, I mean, technology related things that they
Oh,
can
okay.
do.
I see what you're saying. Technology. Yeah. So, one thing and some accommodations maybe that you'll want in your school with these technology tools would be something like text to speech or speech to text, especially when your child is learning something that is not reading. So, I have a couple students who their math questions need to be read to them. So if they have a text to speech tool, then they can have that read to them because they shouldn't be impeded from learning all the other things because they're still working on their reading skills. It's the same with you'll find it in social studies, science, all of those things, making sure they have access to that. Some other tools. I don't know. So I'm kind of a little biased right now about typing skills and things like that because I've been doing a lot of research on handwriting, which I hope we can do a webinar about that in the future. So there's a lot of research behind using a pen and paper to do things. And like she said, I don't necessarily love, that's why we couldn't do the workbook that way because I've learned a lot about that. So there's that. I know there's a new thing coming out. I have not had experience with it yet, but there are actually pens that will read to you. Oh, one really great assistive technology is to have books on tape for your children because we shouldn't dismiss their love for reading just because they're ear readers instead of eye readers. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that term. I heard that one of the books that I suggest in our parent guide talks about ear readers and eye readers. But so eventually, if they go through enough intervention programs and it starts to click, then they'll start reading. But they'll still be a lot like slower than their peers. Reading is still slower for dyslexic students, even after they've learned all the skills to read. And so being able to listen to books on tape is a wonderful benefit for them.
I love that. I feel like as a parent, I would be concerned that I was not supporting my child by offering that, but it's good to know that that is going to help to get them excited about reading, and there's nothing wrong with that. So that's awesome. Another question we have is somebody asking, where do I start after my child is diagnosed with dyslexia? Where do you start?
There's lots of places to start. I started by trying to get the school to help out. I had various success in different districts. So I actually have my journey with my children on our website if you guys want to go read it. It's what shaped me into who I am today around dyslexia. But probably the first step after working with your school district, and do try to work with your school districts. I've had many of them be very helpful in getting them accommodations and resources and even some intervention programs. But if you are finding that you are at a roadblock with your schools, find you need to find an intervention program for your child because they need an Orton Gillingham approach or something that is the explicit systematic phonics instruction so that they can learn to read. That is really like the first step, get them that intervention. When we wait too long, the more of that resistance for reading and writing comes in, and the low self-esteem. And it's a process. I was talking with a mom the other day about, she has been working with her child, and I had this with my own children for many years with an Orton Gillingham program. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer, and it's because of that need for repetition. And then it will click with repeated work. And so being able to, I know that's not the first step, but first step is to get them started. The second step is to keep going. It's a marathon, not a race. Keep working and enjoy that journey with your child.
Another question we have is just somebody looking for ideas on how to kind of foster positivity and to help their child not feel like there's something wrong with them as they're learning to read.
Awesome. Yes, I like that question. So definitely get the parent guide and look at how to talk to your child about dyslexia. There are some great tips and tools in there. The second thing I would do, what do they love to do? Okay. So sports, art, what is it? Because all of our children, so many children are different learners. It's not just dyslexia, right? So we got to find the strengths. We've got to support those strengths and make sure that they know that just because they learn differently doesn't mean that they're not an amazing human being. They're amazing. In fact, their brains work so amazingly. I could tell you so many different things, like all the positivities of dyslexia. There's creativity. There is the spatial awareness. Oh my goodness. If I get lost so easily, but these kids, I mean, there are so many benefits. And so those skills can actually be put into some great talents, like I said, the drawing, if they love drawing, if they're soccer, I don't know what it is for your kiddo. Music, some of them can enjoy music. And so if you can get them invested in something where they can excel and succeed, or even just enjoy it, let them enjoy. And I think that is one thing that as parents we worry about, like, am I spending enough time in my intervention with my kiddo? But if we're spending too much time in intervention, we're taking them out of those things that are important. So there needs to be a balance.
I
Make
like
sure
that.
that you have the balance with what they enjoy doing and with the intervention programs.
That's awesome. So I'm noticing we're on about 5 minutes left. So I think we might do just one more question. We do have somebody asking for encouragement. She wants to hear if you have any examples of children overcoming dyslexia.
Okay, so yes, I worked with several kids who, well, I'm trying to think of, so I guess more close to my heart is my own children. So one of my daughters, you'll have to read about it online, but the struggle was real. And it wasn't until I had done some interventions with her, the school was doing interventions with her, and then something clicked and she found a book series that she loved. Okay. I don't know if you know the Wings of Fire series, anybody, but she loved it because the dragons, I don't know. It was great. She latched onto that book series and read through all of them. And now she's an avid reader. Sometimes I find her just in her room reading. And now she's in high school. So it took a while, and she doesn't read as fast as some of her peers. And that's okay, but she enjoys it now because she worked through it and she found something she loved, and that got her to do that. I've worked with I had one student also that I worked with, and she didn't come to me until she was about 12, and she was already a reader. But her spelling, she was working through her spelling. And because that one's one that gets us, our dyslexic kiddos, is that spelling. And so she worked with me for a while learning. We went back to the basics. We had to go back to square one and learn the rules. And she was a delight to work with, though. So it was pretty easy to do that. But she went through all those rules and came out and is a student leader at her school, works with other kiddos and serves in many capacities because she was willing to put in the work and the time to do that, even at at 12 years old. I mean, usually at that age, we're thinking about other things, but she wanted to improve herself and had come to me, and we worked through that. So
That's awesome. Okay, so I stopped sharing our screen because I know you wanted to share the workbook a little bit.
sure.
Yeah,
I don't know that I really wanted to, is it going to show me?
I think so. I think it's showing
Okay,
you, but I can
awesome.
double check. Hold on.
Okay, so here's the workbook. Um, Apricot Tree Academy Dyslexia Intervention Curriculum 1. So the one thing I really wanted to share with you is this is the first 12 weeks. We have more coming because we know that they need the repetition. And so this is the first 12 weeks. It goes over 2 different syllable types, and you'll get to know them better as you go through it. The closed syllable first, and then the open syllable. But it is so colorful. Look at this. Cindy did a great job. So it's colorful, it's bright, it's engaging. There's stories, words, word lists, sentences, and then we have a whole appendix. I'm opening it up with sound cards in it for your child to go through. Just so many different learning resources. So I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be great for kids. There was nothing like this when I was looking for something for my own children. And so I'm grateful that Cindy partnered with me so that we could put something like this together for you guys as parents. I hope that many kids are benefited from this. That was my hope. Parents and children, that's who we're working for here. So thank you for being here today and helping with this.
Yeah, thank you, everyone that was able to make it. And we're going to be sending this out to our audience, just so those that couldn't make it can watch the recording. So please reach out to us in the parent group or via email. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have. And I hope you have a great weekend and happy reading.
Thank you.